Idol, a representation or symbol of an object of worship. It's a term that's used in East Asia to depict a specific kind of celebrity, one that's focused on image and having strong fan engagement. They garner strong, passionate fan bases, and they're put on a pedestal. But with the immensely high standards idols have to be this perfect ideal figure, it gives the room for error to be pretty much non-existent. A slip-up of any kind is much more impactful for an idol. Someone who is a prime example of this is Choi Seung-Hyun, stage name T.O.P, or Top. His career has experienced both the extreme highs and lows of an idol. A look through his time in the public eye can be a case study of how something so little can do so much damage. But to understand how his career ended up the way that it did, let's first look at how he became one of the most famous idols in the world. Choi Seung-Hyun started out as an underground rapper, performing in clubs under the name Tempo. He was making a name for himself when someone he's known since middle school, Kwon Ji-young, or G-Dragon, reached out to him to see if he could be a possible fit for a boy band that was being created by the record label YG Entertainment. After recording a handful of demos before auditioning, he was initially rejected by the label at first due to him being overweight, not fitting the idealistic look of an idol. Choi wanted to be accepted, so he got to work, losing 20 kilograms or 44 pounds in just 40 days. He re-auditioned and was signed 6 months later. And with the new name T.O.P, he joined G-Dragon, Taeyang, Daesung, and Seungri to form the boy band Big Bang. Their first year as a group was relatively modest, but things would start to change with the release of their single, Lies. It would top multiple charts and even win Song of the Year at the Mnet KM Music Festival, giving them their first taste of mainstream success. And after that, it was pretty much hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. With how popular they were quickly becoming, they were starting to turn into one of K-pop's most influential acts. At the same time, T.O.P was also building an acting career, becoming the first YG member to make a transition into acting. Some of his most notable roles include Oh Jong-bom from 71 Into the Fire, Vic from Iris, and Lee Myung-hoon from Commitment. As Big Bang were becoming one of the most established K-pop groups, they would release their magnum opus, Made, in 2016. It would be their first full-length Korean album in 8 years, and the impact that this album created was historic. Made dominated the charts across Asia and the US, with 5 out of the 11 songs hitting #1, with the remaining 6 peaking at #2 or 3. The Made tour that was started the year before also became the biggest world tour by a K-pop act at the time. They were the first K-pop group to do shows across Asia, North America, and Australia in a single tour. And when the whole thing was concluded, they amassed a total of around 1.5 million fans in attendance and grossed over $147 million. This solidified them as K-pop legends and provided the gateway for other K-pop groups to achieve the same level of success on a global scale. With Big Bang on top of the world, things would take a drastic turn when they were hit with the biggest K-pop scandal of the year. In South Korea, there's a law that requires all able-bodied men between the ages of 18 to 35 to serve a mandatory military service. This stems from their conflict with North Korea and wanting to keep their military well built. Celebrities aren't excluded from having to do their service. Idols will tend to start their service later in their careers to not kill any momentum they might have. T.O.P was the first Big Bang member to enlist, and he started his service as a conscripted police officer on February 9, 2017, with the plan to serve the minimum 18 months. However, a huge scandal would take place during his conscription. It all started with the arrest of Young Sung-ho, or Shin. He's a stylist that was a part of YG Entertainment, and was responsible for creating the look for the girl group To Anyone. He got arrested in Tokyo for smoking marijuana in March of 2016. Since Shin was close to YG, police had a suspicion that any of the idols could have been possibly involved, with T.O.P being someone they wanted to investigate. But due to a lack of strong evidence, they were unable to get a drug test and couldn't proceed any further. Then 1 year later, an idol trainee by the name of Han So-hee was also arrested for smoking marijuana. While police were investigating her, they learned that T.O.P was also with her. With a much stronger lead, they were now able to make T.O.P do a drug test. And with the hair follicle test, the result came back positive. T.O.P admitted that he smoked marijuana in his home on 4 separate occasions. The news of this first became public on June 1st, and the amount of backlash it caused was overwhelming. Articles were made criticizing him. Netizens expressed disappointment and anger. T.O.P lost his military status, and he was now seen as blacklisted. It became so much that on June 6th, T.O.P was found unconscious in a police barracks due to an overdose on benzos, an anxiety medication, and was rushed to the hospital. He regained consciousness a few days later, and when he was being wheelchaired from the intensive care unit while being bombarded by reporters, all he said was, "I'm sorry." A couple days before his overdose, he put out a handwritten apology with the translation saying, quote, "First, I would like to sincerely apologize for causing great disappointment and disturbance with a huge wrongdoing. I am too ashamed of myself to stand in front of everyone for an apology. I have no excuses and feel very regretful and fearful, so I'm carefully writing down these feelings as words. I have no words to excuse myself, and I regret what I have done so much, and I am scared of everything that is to come as I write these words. I deserve to be punished in any way fit for wounding my members, my company, the public, my fans, my family. My heart aches, and I am extremely ashamed of myself. I will reflect on what I have done again and again. I will never make such an irresponsible mistake again. I'm sorry for not being able to apologize to everyone personally. I'm extremely ashamed of myself. I am sorry." He was only 29 at the time. The fallout from this was T.O.P being sentenced to 2 years in probation. He was also expelled from being a police officer and had to restart his mandatory service by working as a public service worker from January 2018 to July of 2019. This wouldn't be the only major scandal Big Bang would face around this time, because even though the rest of the members were doing their military service, another scandal popped up involving Seungri, the Burning Sun scandal. And to give a TLDR version, Burning Sun is a club, Seungri is a co-owner. The club was under police investigation after allegations were made, and the result was Seungri being convicted on 9 charges. Despite the seriousness of these charges, in comparison to T.O.P sentencing, Seungri only faced 18 months in prison, and the response from the public was nowhere near as hostile. Seungri also retired from the entertainment industry shortly after in 2019 once the allegations happened, making Big Bang a 4-piece. After every member would later be discharged, activities from them would be very quiet. T.O.P would stray away from the public, only posting on Instagram. On February 7, 2020, T.O.P would do his first Instagram live stream seemingly out of the blue, and with the things he was saying, it looked like a cry for help.
How do you feel? I'm not good. I'm not good. Actually, I'm not good. Every time. Yeah, I'm always alone. 한국에서 컴백 안 할 거예요. 컴백 자체를 안 하고 싶어요. 너무 못됐어요, 사람들이요.
A few days later, he would remove all of his posts on Instagram. Even though the scandal would be a little under 3 years old, it clearly still affected him. This was the first time people got to see an up-close and personal look at the aftermath of everything. Thankfully, this wouldn't lead to anything drastic, and things would remain quiet again until the spring of 2022. Big Bang would make a comeback with the release of their single, Still Life. Despite the song practically having 0 promotion, it still hit platinum, took over the charts, and it was ranked 3rd in Billboard's Best K-pop Songs of 2022. Although the song was received extremely well commercially as well as critically, this was not a new start for Big Bang. On May 31st, 2023, T.O.P would confirm on an Instagram comment that he's withdrawn from Big Bang. This would not only be his departure from the group, but also from the spotlight. The amount of abuse he's put up with for years can only be taken for so long. Any prior chances for comebacks weren't meant to be, keeping the scandal one of the last things people remember. For Choi, there was only one option: to be rid of the public eye and to live a life in solitary. But then he got an audition. When Squid Game was announcing the cast for Season 2, there was a familiar face that caught a lot of people's attention. Choi Seung-Hyun, T.O.P, who was thought to be done with being in the spotlight, is about to be in the second season of one of the most watched shows on Netflix. He would be playing the role of Thanos, a famous rapper at the lowest point in his career who relies on drugs to help calm his nerves. It was a character that would hit close to home for T.O.P. Now, even though he's been out of the limelight for a while, with the last time he was seen on the big screen was back in his 2017 film Out of Control, he was not welcomed back with open arms. T.O.P. getting casted sparked controversy from South Korea. Articles were made criticizing the casting choice. Netizens were livid and even called for a boycott of the show. T.O.P's face was blurred on Korean broadcasts, and his involvement with promotional material was extremely limited. However, despite all this, director of Squid Game Hwang Dong-hyuk defended T.O.P. and his casting decision, saying, quote, "I feel that it took him a lot of guts, in a way, to portray a character, especially someone who shares a lot of similarities that are quite negative to him as a person too. So I think it took him a lot of courage to take on that role." It would have been easy for Hwang to give in to the pressure and either make an apology or even recast. But he stood up for T.O.P. because he believed he would deliver the best performance for Thanos. But this didn't stop the Korean media. When Squid Game 2 released on December 26, 2024 at 5 p.m. KST, there were a number of articles criticizing T.O.P.'s performance, with some of them being published only minutes after the show's release. They called his acting unbearable, unappealing, and claimed that a talented rookie would have done a better job. Clearly, there was no love lost from the Korean crowd. But Squid Game is a show that's reached a global audience. And internationally, the reception couldn't be more opposite. The response from overseas was so much more positive. Articles were made not condemning T.O.P. and his performance, but praising it. Edits and memes would be made on YouTube and TikTok, gaining tens of millions of views. Netflix held a fan poll asking viewers who their favorite new character from Season 2 was, and Thanos won the poll with a fitting 50% out of the 700,000 total votes. As this new positive wave was going T.O.P.'s direction, he would break his silence in an interview with the Korea Times, being the first interview he's had in 11 years. And he was incredibly open, from his initial thoughts on the offer to play Thanos, to how he was able to deal with all the hate. And the interview ended with him talking about how he wants to live his life moving forward, saying, quote, "My primary goal is to establish a stable and less dramatic life. I want to reach a point where I wake up without being bombarded by negative news and feel more at peace." This interview would be the catalyst for T.O.P. to start making public appearances again. He would be featured on Netflix's YouTube channels, The Red Carpet, and other various events promoting Squid Game. For the first time in years, T.O.P. can be in public without controversy following him. The amount of love he's received from abroad has given him a new lifeline to his career. If there's one term that's disassociated with idol culture, it would be second chance. An idol faced with a career-threatening scandal is such an uphill battle with how public perception can severely change overnight. T.O.P. has been through the worst of it, and he's in a rare position where he left and came back a bigger star. And even though he's back in the entertainment industry, he's made it clear that he has no intention of rejoining Big Bang due to the guilt he still feels. However, the impact he made with his performance in Squid Game reached so many people that it created a new generation of Big Bang fans. And with solo music being the next step, T.O.P. now has the ability to have his art reach millions not possible before. And he can now live the rest of his career on his terms.
No doubt, no diggity, no doubt, no diggity, no doubt. What? No doubt.